Hello, teacher. Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about the Chernobyl disaster. In 1986, one of the worst disasters in the history of mankind happened. A nuclear reactor went critical and exploded. As everybody knows, fossil fuels are a sinking ship. Relying on them as a primary source of energy for the world just makes way too much collateral damage. We need the nuclear energy to be able to make the jump. In a well-maintained nuclear reactor, all of this collateral damage can be avoided. And that's not even considering the fact that as the time goes on, the fossil fuels are getting scarcer and scarcer and way more expensive to even make it a profitable exchange. Today, I'd like to disclose what exactly happened that day at the nuclear power plant, with the main reasons of why it happened, and also what it entailed as after effects of the explosion. Knowing these facts will dispel the fear of nuclear energy the public has. And it will also contrast why it is imperative to always have the safety measures above everything else and always do regulative checkups on how the personnel are trained. To start off, what exactly happened in Chernobyl that day? It started on April 25th, and the explosion itself happened on April 26th, 1:26 a.m. in the Soviet Union, Chernobyl. The flawed experiment that they were doing was conducted by inadequately trained personnel. This happened, the reactor to go critical, it exploded, the steam with radioactive materials and flames went all over the environment, releasing up to a whopping 5% of the nuclear reactor's core to the environment and surrounding countries. The nuclear reactor, which exploded by all of these series of imprudent measures and compound accidents, all of this happened because the unorthodox measures the researchers were conducting as in the experiment. They surprisingly turned off the regulating systems, the emergency safety functions, and the control rods out of the core of the energy reactor. That's just completely unorthodox. That's something no researcher should ever do. And all of this while maintaining a whopping 7% of the full capacity of a nuclear reactor, which, when we're talking about nuclear energy, it's way too much. After the nuclear reactor overheated due to all of these inadequate measures and the personnel, it reached critical conditions, it exploded, the steam that exited the pipes carried larger quantities of radioactive material into the surrounding environment. The explosion killed up to 50 researchers, and it is estimated that up to 4,000 deaths have occurred directly because of the radiation after effects. That was calculated in the year 2001. But the worst part about the explosion is the damage to the soil or the surrounding area. It is estimated that it will not become habitable up to 20,000 years later after the explosion. Because when the explosion happened, it happened at the soil, and when they were trying to contain it, all they did was make the explosion go underground and into the atmosphere. I'm going to contrast this to the Hiroshima bombing incident because, as many of you know, the surrounding environment over there is now habitable again after much efforts to make it habitable. When the nuclear explosion happens underground or on the ground, the nuclear waste or nuclear material merges with the soil. It infects the soil, the trees, the underwater system, everything. That's why it makes it so much worse than when it explodes on air, as the Hiroshima bomb did. And the other side effect, when the radiation went above to the atmosphere, it created nuclear clouds, which were able to drift off to neighboring countries, which France and Italy were the first to voice their concerns when they found out the massive amounts of nuclear radiation that were in their atmosphere. That's how everybody got to know the incident in the first place. Now, to wrap everything up, the tragedy of Chernobyl is a show of what can happen when irresponsibility is tied together with poorly trained personnel, and the danger that it can bring forth to the world as a whole. Since a nuclear explosion does not only hurt the country that it happens on, it hurts all the surrounding countries, and if it's on a bigger scale, it can even hurt surrounding continents. But having said all of that, nuclear energy is indispensable for a source of energy for the future. It's way cleaner than fossil fuels, it's way more efficient. It's something that we need to make the transition into cleaner sources of energy for the world. But we must always prioritize safety above everything else to ensure that a disaster as this does not ever happen again, especially when this did not happen because of unforeseen incidents. It was all due to unorthodox measures the researchers were conducting at the time. Thank you.